Okay, for this project you're going to download 3 files. The first one is the instruction file. The second is the start file. And this time we're also going to have a file under this resources file link. So let's start by opening up the start file first. And it's going to open it up with your name at the front of it. And then let's go back now to open up that resources file. And it's going to use Windows Explorer to download that file because it's zipped right now. And it'll open it up as a, we've got a little file folder icon here. We're going to click on that, double click on that to get that opened up. Sorry. And then it's the wherever's macro -09 is what we want. And the reason that's zipped is because this file contains macros, and you have to be very careful sending files with macros electronically. Usually the program on the other end that's going to be opening it up gives some kind of notification or warning that this file contains a macro, because viruses can be transmitted fairly easily with macro-enabled files. So to protect your computer, it distributes the file in this manner rather than the regular download operation that you normally use to download files. So we're going to double click on this to open it. So now look at you'll notice that we have 2 files open, one with your name at the front of it and then the one with the macro enabled file. Okay, let's go first to the one with your name. We're going to click Enable Editing, and it wants you to make sure that you have the Developer tab displayed. Remember, if you don't have that displayed, just go under the File menu, and again this is for a PC, click Options, and under the Customize ribbon you can find the Developer tab on this side if you make sure all commands are displayed, or commands not in that ribbon if the developer is not displayed. But you'll see that I do have my Developer tab here on the right hand side. Okay, and the other thing that it wants us to do is under the Developer tab, go to Macro Security and make sure that we have Enable All Macros selected. Okay. Now, what we want, let's do a quick file save as too before we make any changes. It's going to be an Excel workbook .xlsx, and I'm going to find a good place to save my file, and you save it wherever you normally save your files. Okay, and then we're going to go to our wherever macros file, the macro enabled workbook, and save that as well. And you want to make sure that you continue to save it in the .xlsm format so that it saves those macros that are contained within, because we're going to need them for our project today. So I'm going to save mine in a good location. I already have it, so it's going to replace it. Okay, so we've got our 2 files, the one with your name and just the wherever macros. Okay, going back to the one with your name, we're going to create a new worksheet called Inventory 2. And an easy way to do that is to hold down your Control key, click on the Inventory tab, and once you do that you get a little page icon with the plus sign, which indicates that you're going to be doing a copying operation. Move it over just past that worksheet tab and let go. Okay, so there's our Inventory 2. We're going to color that tab so that it's a accent for green. Right click on the new tab, select tab color from the quick menu. That's going to be your top option there. And then we're going to click OK. Alright, so we've got our new Inventory 2 worksheet. What we're going to do is we're going to run this macro called Reorder macro. So we're going to go to our Developer tab, and under the Macros button in that first group, which is the code group, click on Macros and you'll see there's that macro that we want to run, and it's called the Reorder. And basically it's checking to see, do we need to reorder any shoes? Are we running low on any of these shoe styles? So this macro will apply some conditional formatting so that anything that has less than a 3 will be highlighted. And we'll double check and see, yes, everything that has less than a 3 is highlighted. Okay, so they decided, well, we're okay if there's 2 or more. I don't think we need to highlight anything with a 2, just 1s or 0s. So let's alter that reorder macro a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the macros link again, and instead of run, we're going to click edit, and here is the coding that the macro is written in. It's called Visual Basic. Don't worry about that. But you'll see in the macro, you can kind of tell what it's doing. It's highlighting that quantity range, which is cell E4 through E39. And then it applies the conditional formatting in these steps here. And then it ends, and then basically ends the whole thing. That's what it does. So what we wanted to do is, rather than highlight anything that has less than a 3, we wanted to highlight anything that has less than a 2. So highlight where it says in the quote marks equals 3 and change that to a 2. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a new line here. After false, where it says false, we're going to click and hit enter to create a blank line. And what we want to do is, after it does all its highlighting, we want it to go back to cell A1. So we're going to just reuse this bit of code here. We're going to highlight it and do a Control-C to copy. So hold down Control, press C. And then we're going to click on our new blank space, and we're going to do a Control-V to insert that code we just copied. Control, hold down, press V. And then instead of E4 to E39, we're going to make that range. We're just going to have it click in cell A1 and be done. Okay. So we don't need to press save or anything. We can just close this window, clicking the X up here in the upper right corner. And instead of rerunning the macro on this worksheet, we're going to run it on our inventory worksheet. So click on inventory. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a button to add our brand new altered macro. We're going to attach it to this button. So we're going to go under the insert menu, pick the button under form controls. It's the first option. Highlight cells J3 through K3. And so we're going to apply that macro here by clicking on it and click OK. And then we're going to add text to our button. You can click once and just delete out what's there. And we're going to put in there in steps 9D, click here to find items for reorder. Okay, we're going to deselect that control, and now it's ready to let us click it and see if our macro worked. So we're going to click it, and it did. Everything that has a 1 or 0 is highlighted in this column. Okay, good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make our own macro, and we're going to do this on that wherever worksheet. So let's click back on that. And we're going to, first of all, under the Developer tab, if you have this Use Relative References as highlighted or active, just click on it again to deselect that. We want to make sure that's not selected so that our macro can run on any worksheet. Okay, so then what we're going to do is start recording our macro, and it's going to be called Today. And what it's going to do is we're going to click in A2 and use the Today function to have Excel insert the date, today's date. So we're going to go under Record Macro. We're going to call that macro Today. We're going to do a Control-Shift-D as our shortcut key. So holding down the Shift key, press D. And in the description, which is given to you in step 10D, insert date in cell A2 and click OK. All right, so now we're recording. Once you hit OK, you start recording, and all we're going to do is we're going to click in cell A2, which we've already done, and we're going to do an equals to, and every time you have text after an equals sign, Excel knows you want to do a function, and so any text you type in, then it'll try and match or approximate what it thinks you're going to use. So we do the TO, and it knows, okay, that's the Today function. So we hit the Tab key to verify, yep, that's the function we want you to insert, and then we just hit Enter. No arguments in this function, easy peasy, and there it goes, it's inserted. Okay, once we've inserted that, then we do a stop recording, and then we do a Control Home to go to that cell A1. Okay, so we've got our nice little brand new Today function. So we're going to go back to the Wherever worksheet, workbook, with our name. And we're going to go onto the inventory sheet again. And this time we're going to run our function using those hotkeys that we entered, the Control-Shift-D. So holding down Control-Shift-D, there it is. There's our date that we just recorded. Okay, that is essentially everything for this project. All you need to do at this point is to go to your Wherever worksheet, the one with the macros, and close that out. Save and close it. And then we're going to close it. If you get an error message, just click OK. Okay, I didn't get an error message. So now the only workbook we have open is the one with our name. And then you want to save, before you save and close this one, go to the Developer tab and change that macro security again, because again, we don't want it, when you upload this project to SimNet, you don't want to have macros enabled so that there's any virus potential problems. So click on macro security and disable all macros with notification is the setting that you want. Click OK. And then you want to save. Just ignore this if you get this error. I'm sorry, we'll say that one more time. Just press OK, won't worry about it. I don't think you'll get that error. And then close. Okay, and that is the project 9-4. And just make sure to upload your file that has your name.wherever.09. That's the one that you're going to upload to SimNet for grading.